Welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy. What's up, Fourth and Trollers? Welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy show on the planet. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we're talking wide receivers. It's this our last positional group. It's this, and then we'll have done it. We have made it through. We've done tight ends. We've done quarterbacks. We've done running backs. And now we've got receivers as we are gearing up for the fantasy football season in 2025. We're doing our top 10. There's 15 guys we're talking about here today because some overlap and we got some other call-outs. Let's get straight to it, Wes. Should we?
Let's do it. Let's get this out of the way.
No. First off, just want to say thank you for 2,000 subscribers.
Thank you very much.
2K. That's dope. To celebrate 2,000 subscribers, we are giving away a signed Brian Thomas Jr. mini helmet. If you've been here before, we've been teasing it. We've been talking about it. We've been telling you what to do to get early entrance. Not that you earn anything for getting in early, but but it's official. We are giving away a signed Brian Thomas Jr. mini helmet to celebrate hitting 2,000 followers. We're giving it away September 8th is the last day to join, and then we're going to announce it the following video. So September 8th, get in there. All you got to do is subscribe and be in our Discord. And that's it. I just told everyone I was trying to hurry up and get straight to things and do quick intros, and now I'm like, hey,
we're ready.
Let's just chat it up. Let's get to it now with our top 10 wide receiver lists, Wes. I'm going to start us out here with my wide receiver one. If you can't tell, I'm repping him on my head. The Dallas Cowboys. It's CeeDee Lamb. I'm not going to give you a bunch of reasons. These are guys that you know are going to be elite, that you know are going to be great. I mean, CeeDee Lamb was a wide receiver 4 weeks 1 through 9 with Dak. And if you'll remember, that wasn't like super great passing work in Dallas at that time. And now he's got another wide receiver out there to help take away some attention, and their defense might be worse. So I've got him as my one. But I don't care. There's a handful of guys here that are going to be in that conversation for wide receiver 1, but CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 1.
And CeeDee Lamb is also my wide receiver 1 for the same reasons. The biggest one, I think, for me is healthy Dak Prescott and George Pickens on the other side helping draw away coverage. This is a guy that was wide receiver 1 just 2 years ago and was wide receiver 8 last year in full PPR. Yeah. And it's been top 10 for 4 years in a row. So I'm ready. I'm all in. He can be number 1, and he, I think, will be number 1.
Yeah, I do too. And I like that we're both calling our shot on CeeDee, and that we believe, it's obviously, you knew it was going to be early in this video, but we're both confident he is the top wide receiver to draft. So there we go.
Oh, hell yeah,
nice, dude. We're just here.
Let it rip.
All right, my wide receiver 2. This is where I have Jamar Chase. I truly don't have much to say. I just like CeeDee a bit more. He's going to have 150 plus targets. Jamar Chase will draft him. I don't have much more than that. He's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, he's coming up, and I'll explain the only reason why he's later on my list when I get to him. But my number 2, enough predictability. Here we go. My wide receiver 2 on this season, I'm calling my shot. I think it's DK Metcalf. I'm calling the ceiling on this guy. What we have seen from DK Metcalf, we know the talent is there. We know he's got the targets pretty much all to himself with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we know that Aaron Rodgers is obsessive with his wide receiver 1. We've seen it historically with Devontae Adams, seen Majority Nelson, we've seen with other wide receivers. When he's got a guy, he has very sensitive trust. It takes a lot to earn that. Now, if you're doubting DK Metcalf, we've seen him make top 15 on multiple occasions, including top 10 with a very crowded wide receiver room with Seattle. And he's had Tyler Lockett on his team, who's like besties with Russell Wilson. So there's always been someone else just as good, just as a favorite target his entire time in Seattle. Now there is no competition except Roman Wilson, who might be like a deep sleeper waiver wire ad later on this year. If you have any doubts about Aaron Rodgers, if that's where your concern is, let me just say, you look at last year's top 10 full PPR, you see Garrett Wilson as number 10. And the only reason he's not higher in the top 10 is because Devontae Adams was right there as wide receiver 12. Aaron Rodgers damn near put 2 wide receivers on the Jets in the top 10. DK to the moon. I'm all in.
Calling your shot. I like DK. I like it a lot. He is in my top 12 wide receivers on the season. So I absolutely see it. And you see the ceiling. And that's
I'm going ceiling.
DK is going to be awesome. Justin Jefferson is my wide receiver 3. I'm done doubting him just because of quarterback play. We did it last year with Darnold, and it was like, oh, just kidding. He's great. He's just that good. He's just that good. Justin Jefferson is. He had just 3 games under 14 fantasy points last year. I mean, not even that I needed to give you that for you to know that he is fantastic, but like he's very worthy of being drafted where he is. Love him. Love Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I think it's good to hear that though, because Justin Jefferson's also my wide receiver 3 for 2025. And the only reason I wanted to hear stuff like that is because I went back and forth if he was even going to be top 10. And I had to reach out to you. No, I had to ask, hey, I'm basically confused because this is a pretty much rookie quarterback. And he's got a hamstring injury that's kept him out of practice for a lot of training camp. So what are we feeling? And you have helped answer those kinds of questions. We don't need to doubt. The only reason he's not top 10 is with an injury. He seems totally fine. I expect him to be top 3.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's going to be awesome. Here's where I'm going to break, whatever you say, predictability.
Yes.
Listen, my wide receiver 4 is T. Higgins. I'm completely in. I love T. Higgins this season. He was 6th in the NFL in points per game last year for amongst all wide receivers. That's higher than CeeDee Lamb. That's higher than Malik Neighbors. That's higher than Nico Collins. He had 10 touchdowns in just 12 games. And I get that there's an injury risk, but he's got his new contract. There is incentive for him to stay healthy, like big incentive. And so he has talked this offseason about understanding his body more and wanting to be able to stay more available, more on the field. I love T. Higgins. When you have a quarterback that is any given moment, any given season going to go for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, you're going to be an elite fantasy wide receiver. And I believe T. Higgins is going to be fantastic this year.
Wide receiver 4 is so high. It's
Yep.
so high.
Yeah.
But I will talk about T. Higgins on my list as well. We're both in.
Yeah.
Expect Higgins to have his big season that we've been waiting for. I love that you
Yeah.
put him in top 5. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right. Number 4 on my list for 2025 is still the guy we're scared to draft. I'm in. I think it's safe. It's Puka Nacua. I've got him as a top 5 wide receiver. And I put him on my list before I even heard Stafford was back to practice after his back injury. Because obviously with Stafford, we have no questions. I think we were all wondering if he was going to be top 3 or not.
Yeah.
But without Stafford, that was the big concern. And actually last week, Noah and I, when we finished up our running back rankings, we were looking at the Stafford reports, and Sean McVay was like reading a eulogy the way he was talking about the injury.
It was like Matthew Stafford was 6 years old and like his parent was telling him they had to put their dog down. Like it was
it was dramatic.
so sad. It was like McVay was like, I'm just coming alongside of him in this time and letting him know that I'm here for him and it's going to be okay. And I was like, what's it? It sounds like he's going to have to medically retire.
So
like
I had to look at the training camp reports to see how Puka's done. Just to see, okay, if it's Stetson Bennett, if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, if it's a mix of them because Stafford just can't play, how's Puka done? Fucking incredible. He's dominating. He's unstoppable. So PPR alone, I think he'll be the engine of this offense. I'm still buying in at his ceiling at the guy that's a first-round draft pick. 4th on my list.
100%. I'm giving you a bit of almost a bonus here because I'll be completely honest. I wanted to see both sides of the conversation. I personally have him as wide receiver 13 if Stafford doesn't play, because I was ranking for a long time. Puka Nacua was my wide receiver 2 on the year for a very long time, and then this started to feel really, really scary. And so I'm giving you the play if he isn't with Stafford, if Stafford doesn't play all year, because I'm thrilled he was back, but I still have my concerns. But if Stafford's there, yeah, Puka's he was my wide receiver 2. So I love Puka Nacua, and he should be a great pick so long as Matthew Stafford's there, and he'll be a really good pick, but maybe early if there is Stafford time missed. So anyways, jump to my wide receiver 5 here. My wide receiver 5, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's so safe. The floor is so crazy good. He has been a top 10 wide receiver since he was 8 weeks into his career, and he's never left. Like from that point on, from week 8 on, the rest of that season, he was a top 10 wide receiver. The rest of all of next season, he was the wide receiver 3. Last year, top 5 wide receiver. He's such a safe pick. And I'm still believing that Jameson Williams has a bigger year. I'm still believing the offense shifts a little bit with the OC, but he's a guy that I don't know if he can be like the wide receiver 1 on the season, but he's so consistent and he's going to provide you such great consistency throughout the season. So I've got him on route 5.
I've got him on at the floor, and I've got him outside my top 10, but at 12. So I'm not saying anything absolutely crazy.
In most in 12 teamers, wide receiver 1 still. It's just
yes, I still can understand someone wanting to say, because I've seen in many mock drafts Amon-Ra St. Brown go in the 2nd round. Okay, running backs are flying off the shelves in these first 2 rounds. It's crazy. So I can see that happening. People are going to be stoked to get Amon-Ra as their 2nd pick. That would be league winning, I would think. But the only reason I don't have him in my top 10 is because running through all these numbers, you got 2 wide receivers on the same team that have 1,000 yards. Neither of them make top 10. It's only happened twice in the last 6 years. And I just have talked about Jameson Williams being a guy that's kind of a breakout season. We're both excited about him, but I don't think that's going to be a real big problem for Amon-Ra St. Brown owners. Interestingly enough, St. Brown only had 200 more receiving yards than Jameson Williams last year. That's crazy. So how did he end up as the wide receiver 2? So many freaking catches and so many
PPR value
touchdowns.
Massive. Yeah.
He had insane amount of touchdowns. So even outside of PPR, his touchdowns were crazy. So I expect some dip just because Jameson will have an increase, but still a good pick. Awesome. My wide receiver 5 is Jamar Chase, because 99 times out of 100, the wide receiver 1 does not repeat its wide receiver 1. So this is where I got him. That's it. Still, I have no problem with him being the 101, but I'm just following history. Like, he can't be the first again.
Yeah. I think last time it happened, it was like Antonio Brown. And so
for 4 years in a row.
Yeah, which was crazy. So, it's just, just playing the numbers.
Should have been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, bummer. Instead, he took his shirt off. All right, wide receiver 6 for me is Drake London. He was the wide receiver 5 last year. He had only 3 single-digit fantasy games last year. He had 9 games over 17 fantasy points last year. Great floor, and I believe a really great ceiling. It was a small sample, but he averaged 13 targets per game with Michael Penix last season. And I don't know if you've been tracking with Atlanta Falcons camp this offseason, but Darnell Mooney is like maybe in hospice care. Like I actually can't tell. Like I'm not sure where he is, but he is dealing with this shoulder injury that's become a very serious thing. And there's been sentiments of, we hope we're gonna get him this year, like that kind of thing. So like, if that's the case, it's Kyle Pitts. And let's look at history. Hey, this year, 5 touchdowns, Kyle. You got it, bud. But like, it's not anything there. And so I'm really, really excited about Drake London. If Penix is who he was drafted to be, his wide receiver 1 is going to be very good. So that's why I've got Drake London this high. And I think he has freed the grips of Arthur Smith. And so he is now ready to take that real step forward.
I've got Drake London as wide receiver 11. Like, I'm right there. I'm almost there.
Fair.
But a lot of the numbers are just way too many targets for that few receptions, a lot of really big games. However, this is a different quarterback than the guy that got those numbers. That was all Kirk Cousins. Yeah. And if, like you said, if Michael Penix is the guy that we're seeing, not just from those last few weeks of last season, but in training camp, those are some of the prettiest spirals I've seen since watching Dan Marino highlights when I'm mourning about the Dolphins' future. Just make it feel better. So I see it. I don't know. I've always been a bit of a Drake London doubter. I don't know why.
Me too. I was for a while. Yeah. I have no issue with your ranking. I think 11 is around consensus. I'm just a little higher than consensus. I'm really looking for.
But I can see him being top 5. He was top 5 last year.
Yeah.
So I can see him being in that same ballpark. Yeah.
Totally.
Speaking of, for whatever reason, just not being all that high on someone that I probably should be higher on, it's my wide receiver 6 on the season, and that's Nico Collins. I just have to admit that I just don't know enough about the Texans offense to really understand the Nico Collins hype. But I don't know if I'm ever really going to draft him in any of my leagues this year, because I think he is at the exact correct ADP for where he's going to finish. And that's not fun. That's not sexy. That's not interesting. I want to reach
Ooh, you
for the
drafted
cool
him at
guy.
cost.
Yeah, wow. You took Nico at 110. Yep. Because what, you want auto draft? Like, is that why you
Yeah.
took him? But here's the thing. Everything outside of name value, forget the name. Everything is correct. Everything has him
Yeah.
there. Statistically, quarterbacks, weak rushing attack, with all due respect to Nick Chubb. But Joe Mixon's not
Yeah.
is on the pup list to start.
Yeah.
It's not a great offensive line. Defense is solid. I'm not worried about that. But
Yeah.
everything's there. Everything's there for Nico to be borderline top 5. I'm ranking logically on him, not because I've got any real urge to draft him. So
Yeah, for
technically,
sure.
I got him there.
For sure. I feel similarly to how you do about Nico Collins as I do about this guy, and it's Malik Neighbors. He's my wide receiver 7. Last year is just a garbage fest of quarterbacks, and he was still the wide receiver 6. And he missed 2 games. So he was still the wide receiver 6. 170 targets in 15 games. Only 1 game with single digit fantasy points last year. Russ or Dart or for oh boy, if for some reason if Jameis Winston gets a string of games, good
Man.
luck. Good luck if you're facing Malik Neighbors, but he might not get force fed the same way he was, though there's not really many people to take away more opportunity. So it really is crazy, but only 15 passing touchdowns by the team last year. So that should improve. But I don't I think Malik Neighbors is going to be really good. Like, I don't see like a bust outcome for Malik Neighbors necessarily, but he's just not as exciting in draft season right now as I thought he would be at points last year. So I'm at 7. Yeah.
I understand. I understand. I don't have him in top 10, and I'll just give you the reasons why. I have him as 15. Okay, I was 15, so I'm not totally out like you. Like you're saying, like he's not going to be a bust.
Yeah.
But a couple things here. First of all, he had 170 targets. That is delicious. But he had so few yards and so few receptions for all of that. And of course, we're going to blame the quarterback play because it's Daniel Jones and just local New Yorkers playing under center. But Jamar Chase
I think
only had
Tyron Killam was under center one week.
He just finished performing as King George, and Hamilton was like, "Oh, you guys need a quarterback? I think you can do that too." The thing is, Jamar Chase only had 5 more targets than Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
But Jamar Chase had 500 more yards.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get it's Joe Burrow, but also Russell Wilson has only produced a top 10 wide receiver in his career 4 times. And he's only targeted a wide receiver 100 times in a season, 4 times. And he's only given a wide receiver 100 receptions in a season 3 times. So he's not a fantasy-friendly quarterback, and he never was with Seattle. And just one more thing, Bo Nix turned Cortland Sutton to a damn near top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah.
He was a rookie. Like, I love Bo Nix, but like, that's a rookie with what Russell Wilson tried to do in 2 years. So I don't think he's top 10. Still a good pick overall. I'm seeing him fall to the second round as well, but he's not going to have the astronomical numbers I think he will have later in his career for 2025.
Yeah. Totally. You're up.
Oh, this is my turn. That's right. Yeah, I was talking about Malik Neighbors. Okay, number 7 for me. Number 7. I'm in on my wide receiver 1's teammate. I'm calling the shot. I think we're going to see 2 Cowboys wide receivers in the top 10. It's George Pickens. I know he can probably finish top 15, but when I keep seeing since literally OTAs how good Pickens has been with the Cowboys. And the potential I think we've all wondered could happen with the Steelers. Pickens and CD have been best buddies. They've called themselves 1A, 1B for this offense. Prescott's been targeting him. I think the real reason Pickens is going to be top 10 is going to be touchdowns. And he's going to have some big play potential. It's going to get him in that spot where CD is going to PPR his way. He's going to be the Jamar Chase of this equation, and George Pickens will touchdown his way like T. Higgins will. So I'm in as Pickens being a top 10 wide receiver with the Cowboys.
I love Pickens this year. I think he's a great pick. I'm very in on him. He's not in my top 10, but he's not far out. He's going to be awesome. And I'm really, really loving George Pickens. My wide receiver 8 is AJ Brown. Now, at the time of this recording, I'll let you know I'm considering moving some things around here, but not a ton. It's just this hamstring injury is a little bit of a concern. It's kept him out of practice a lot, but I have heard the coaching staff saying if it was game time and there was a game decisions, like there might be different conversations. But enough about that. AJ Brown is my wide receiver 8. Since 2020, he's been the wide receiver 12, 6, and 5 when he plays 14 or more fantasy games in a season. He was the wide receiver 20 last year and he had missed 3 games. My thing here that I've talked about with the Eagles offense a lot this offseason is just Saquon Barkley did historic things last year. And I don't foresee that happening again. That means that this passing game is going to have to be better, have more frequency, have more higher passing percentage offense because of that unlikelihood that Saquon comes out and does historic things again. So again, they have a much harder schedule this year as well. So it just all ties into, I believe the passing game for Philly takes a step up. And I think AJ Brown is fantastic when he plays. And when he's played 14 or more games, he's wide receiver 12, 6, and 5. And so I just think he's awesome. And I think he's going to be a really, really good fantasy pick. And I think he's undervalued where he's going in drafts.
Consider me in the undervalued group. I'm just out on AJ Brown. I've been talking about his health concerns for a lot of this offseason. I'm just worried that he's not going to play all those 14 games. And I just don't like the numbers enough for the targets and the I get he was hurt as well last year with the targets and the receptions, and the yards per catch too are really, really high. I want to see more of that kind of alpha role from 2022. And I just don't know if that's there anymore. But I also don't really know for sure how to predict this Eagles team because it's going to be Saquon-less at some point. I feel pretty certain. Is this going to be a different offense than last year? So I'm
Sure.
out on AJ myself.
Sure. That's fair. I want to ask you, where would you he had 97 targets on 67 catches, 1,079 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He missed. Sorry, what did I say? He missed 3 games. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he missed 3 games last year. Where would you feel good where his targets would be if you were like if that you would say yeah he is going to be a good pick this year?
For where his ADP is and his role with the Eagles, I would at least like to see somewhere around 120 targets. Because he's
Okay.
been but the weird thing is in 2022, when he was top 5, his first season with the Eagles, and Devonta Smith was top 10, Devonta Smith had more targets. It was
Yeah.
weird. So I get it. I get that he can do a lot, even if Smith does a
Yeah.
lot too. But just
That's
for the
fair.
price, we know AJ can do this, but I backed away from top 10.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't mind. I see the case for it not happening. His first 2 years in Philly, 145 targets and 158 targets. So
Jeez.
if those even out, so say Saquon does takes half of the passing game away from him, then that was 97 targets in 3 games. So, or with 3 games, 97 targets in 3 games, 97
Dude, that's
targets in 3 games
crazy.
missed. Yeah. So, some extended AJ Brown talk here. We'll see. I believe. I think he'll still be really, really good. My wide receiver 9.
I
Or
gotta do my
wait,
8.
you
Let me do
didn't do
my
your
8 real
8. I'm
quick.
so sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
We keep talking about the same guys for so long that we're
I
like, oh, where
know.
are we? I don't know. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So my receiver 8, interesting candidate for top 10. I'm going to talk about a Raiders wide receiver. How many wide receiver rankings have you watched or read that have Raiders Jacoby Myers as a top 10 candidate for 2025, fresh off of 129 targets, 1,000 yards, and only 4 touchdowns all season? He was still top 20. Geno Smith is producing great fantasy wide receivers. And in a crowded room with all the Seattle Seahawks players, you've got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba. 2022, Geno puts up 2 top 15 wide receivers. And then last year, not just DK, but Jackson Smith and Jigba was great, and he was top 10. There's no competition, I believe, right now for the wide receivers. I'm excited to see what Jack Bech can do later on. I think we might see some interesting games later, but I believe there is really good opportunity for Jacoby Myers to have a sneaky good season, and Brock Bowers is still going to get his. Brock Bowers gets better and better every game. I'm scared when watching these training camp videos and watching and reading these training camp reports that he's going to just continue to destroy for the rest of his career. but I've seen Geno produce great players. Both of them do great in fantasy. And Jacoby Myers did all those statistics with Devontae Adams on the team. And then with Brock Bowers doing all he did as well. So I see some really interesting PPR potential for Jacoby Myers as a possible top 10 candidate for 2025.
If Jacoby Myers being the wide receiver 8 is sneaky good, I'm horrified to figure out what being a top 5 wide receiver is. Uh, I think I like Myers, but I think that one's a bit of a reach, but we'll see. My wide receiver 9, it's Tedero McMillan. I'm in. Dave Canales has found his DK Metcalf. He has found his Mike Evans. The conversation all offseason has been about how they're going to use Tedero McMillan to help Bryce Young in this ascension, in this rise, in this leap as far as his skill set goes. I really have already seen the elevation from Bryce at the end of last year, and I believe that this offense is going to be a lot better this year. And Tet McMillan is going to be an absolute baller. With Dave Canales, Mike Evans was the wide receiver 7. With Dave Canales, DK Metcalf was the wide receiver 7, wide receiver 14, wide receiver 16. I believe that Tedero McMillan is just going to come out here, absolutely be an alpha on his team. I don't think you can talk about Adam Thielen, you can talk about Jalen Coker, you can talk about Xavier Legette. I believe he is far and away the most talented wide receiver on that offense. And so I really believe T-Mac is going to have a breakout season in year 1.
If he's top 10, that would be insane. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. But I think he's a great pick. I'm curious to see
Yeah,
where he finishes, but I absolutely understand him being a player that people want to draft and being someone that you have at least in the flex option. Interestingly enough, there have been 7 rookie wide receivers this century that have made top 10. 5 are from LSU. Can you believe it? It's
crazy.
OBJ, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and then Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. The other 2, Anquan Bolden and Puka Nakua. Maybe it's Tech. Maybe it's T-Mac. Maybe
Maybe
he's
it's
number
T-Mac.
8. That'd
Yeah,
be interesting. Number 9, my wide receiver 9 on the season is T. Higgins. Noah explained all the reasons, just higher on his list. But T.
yeah.
Higgins, buy in. He'll be healthy. We believe it. We've got faith. Take
Draft
him
him.
as your wide receiver 1. It's worth it.
He's gonna be awesome. I completely agree. My wide receiver 10 is Nico Collins. He's very appropriately priced. He's very appropriately evaluated. Like where he's going is around where I believe he will finish. I'm just a little lower. The O line is really just kind of my red flag. Is there going to be enough time for of clean pocket for the routes for Nico to develop when he has those big plays inevitably and stuff like that? So I got a little concerned there, but Nico is a top 10 wide receiver in my eyes, and I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah, my top 10 wide receiver, my 10th wide receiver is a dark horse candidate that could be in a serious conversation as one of the sleeper wide receivers of the season is Ricky Pearsall. We talked about this guy a little bit in our off season about some potential to have either Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings could have a really good season based on what training camp was telling us, especially after Juwan Jennings said, "Hey, you got to pay me because I'm pretty great, or you got to trade me." And then he came back and was like, "No, I'll
And then his
just
calf
stay."
hurt.
And then his calf hurt. Yeah. And it was like,
Yeah.
well, that sounds like this is a Ricky Pearsall season. And then
Yeah.
once Pearsall came back after his hamstring tweak, it's been the show, man. I still think George Kittle will have Noah, you believe Kittle will have the most targets on the season, but I do think both of them are going to have an exclusive share in this passing offense. Of course, McCaffrey will still get some targets too, but Pearsall is feasting. He is feasting. I think he will PPR his way so high up into the wide receiver rankings that I think it can be top 10. And I know this is a first round draft pick for the 49ers. This is not some guy that had a really good sneak. All due respect, I think good comparison is Demario Douglas, right? Someone's like, this guy's really good. He might have a shot later on. But Pearsall, first round draft pick. They want to make him their guy. And Juwan Jennings calf injury, we just talked about. Brandon Ayuk may play this year. He may play this year.
Yeah, it's
We know
crazy.
that coaches and GMs speak about players returning after an injury is always way too optimistic. Right now, they're like, we hope we can get him week 6. All right, see you Ayuk in like week 10 or something. So the field is all Pearsall's. I'm excited for a really good Ricky Pearsall season, probably top 10.
Yeah, I like the upside of Pearsall a lot. I'm just very in on George Kittle, so I never find myself drafting Ricky. But
Fair enough.
it should be a lot of fun who else takes targets besides those two guys in CMC? So anyway, that's it. That's the top 10. I'm going to talk about one guy who is in our top 10. You can talk about another guy who's not in our top 10.
Okay.
Not in our top 10 together is Brian Thomas Jr. I know we're giving away a signed mini helmet of his. He's not going to be bad. He's not going to be bad. It's just I don't necessarily fully trust the volume and target share of a potentially on the fringe of being called a bust quarterback. I don't want to disrespect Trevor Lawrence like that. I just don't know if I trust the volume in that offense when they drafted I guess in their fairness, a hybrid player, but a wide receiver at the second overall pick as well. And so they're really trying to load up the offense. I think there's more mouths to feed, and I just think I'm not 100% sold on BTJ. So he is not in our top 10 this year.
Obviously I agree. Who am I talking about? I've got a couple players that I can roast.
Whoever you want. Just give us yeah.
Easy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's putting him in top 10, but like there's no bounce back. I think this Dolphins offense is going to be terrible. We've been talking about like not a single Dolphins player is worth drafting. We've talked about already many times, not even Achane is worth drafting. He's not in our top 10. Oh, look at that. Soft tissue, lower body problem. Whoa, calf problem, can't play. Whoops, that's the durability of a running back under 200 pounds. And then there's just so much garbage from training camp. Holy
We're
crap.
so angry at the Dolphins.
We're so mad. We need to implode this team. So, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
There's no bounce back for Tyreek Hill. It's not even in my top 15.
Yeah. That's it. Drop it in the comments. Let us know who we missed from the top 10. Subscribe. Join our Discord for a chance to win a signed Brian Thomas Jr. mini helmet. And we will see you next time. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.